Welcome ladies and gentlemen, Dev here. Chess, a game played by billions around the world. And yet there have been very few who were able to left a mark on the game, which will be talked about for the upcoming decades or maybe even centuries. And one of those players was Robert James Fischer, alternatively known as Bobby Fischer. Bobby Fischer was an American chess grandmaster and the 11th world chess champion. In 1956, Bobby Fischer played a game which was so unprecedented that it is widely considered as the game of the 20th century. Yes, you heard it right, the game of the century. It was played between then 11-year-old Bobby Fischer and a very strong international master, Donald Byrne. And in that game, Bobby Fischer showed the entire world what he was up to, and that is to become the future world chess champion. So guys, let's just not waste any time and straight away jump to the game. So guys, the game is set in 1956. We have Donald Byrne playing with white pieces and Bobby Fischer playing with black pieces. After a series of opening moves, the usual opening moves, we have an opening officially called the Grunfeld defense. For those of you who do not know, Grunfeld defense is a very advanced and technical opening which I think all the beginner players should stay away from. And here a pawn captures pawn and queen captures pawn, and we have c6 by black and e4 by white. Now Bobby replies with knight to d7. We have rook to d1, a common developing move by white, and knight to b6 attacking the queen, queen to c5 protecting the queen. We have pinning the knight against the rook by Bobby Fischer by playing the move bishop to g4. And in this game right here, first critical mistake of the game has been committed by white by playing the move bishop to g5. Now why this is a mistake, guys, I would request all of you to pause the video and find it yourself and find a killer move by black which will completely blow white out of the water. So guys, congratulations to those of you who found the killer move by black, and for those of you who couldn't find it and just want to enjoy the show, the move is knight to a4. Many of you might think that this is a silly mistake by black because the knight on a4 is vulnerable and can simply be captured by playing knight cross a4, and guys, you might be wrong actually here. Let's say that for a moment white actually plays knight to a4. Black will reply with knight cross e4, forking the queen and the bishop. White will protect the queen obviously by playing queen to a3, and after bishop captures knight and pawn captures bishop, we have queen to a5 check by black. Let's say white blocks the check by playing something like knight to c3. After queen captures queen and pawn captures queen, we have knight cross bishop, and look at the pawn structure of white, guys. It is completely losing, completely hopeless for white. White is a clear pawn down and has 1, 2, 3 and 4 pawn islands. So this move was not played by Donald Byrne for obvious reasons. Let's return to our original position and see how the game proceeded. So instead of playing knight cross knight, white in fact defends the queen by playing queen to a3. We have knight cross knight by black, and pawn recaptures the knight. Now Bobby Fischer grabs the free pawn on e4 by playing knight cross e4, and Donald Byrne, playing with white pieces, grabs the pawn on e7, forking the rook and the queen, and Bobby Fischer simply protects the queen by playing it queen to b6, and Donald Byrne replies with bishop to c4. Now many of you might wonder that why didn't simply white recaptured the rook on f8. Well, let's see what happens if white captures the rook on f8. If white plays bishop cross f8, we have bishop cross f8 attacking the queen. Let's say white protects the queen by playing something like queen to c1. Now black will simply grab the pawn on c3 by playing knight cross c3, and if queen recaptures by playing queen cross c3, we have bishop to b4 pinning the queen against the king, and that's the reason that Donald Byrne did not capture the rook. So guys, let's return to our original position. So guys, here black replies with knight cross c3, and you might again think that this is again a silly mistake because the knight can simply captured by the queen. Well, the answer is again no. For the second time in a row, the knight cannot be captured by the queen, because if queen cross knight, then we have rook a to e8, pinning the bishop against the king. Let's say you protect the bishop by playing something like queen to a3. We have queen to c7, and that bishop cannot be protected, and all hope is lost for white. So let's see how white responded. After knight cross c3, white plays bishop to c5, attacking the queen. Bobby Fischer gives a check by playing rook to f8, and we have king to f1, sliding the king to safety. And in this position, guys, I would like you to pause the video once again for 10 seconds and find a move which is so brilliant, which is simply off the scale of brilliancy. If by any means this is the game of the century, then the next move is the move of the century by Bobby Fischer. I would like you to pause the video and find it out. Congratulations to those of you who succeeded in finding the move of the century. And for those of you who could not find the move, there is no need to worry. Even I cannot find the move. Even the strongest of grandmasters on the face of earth cannot find the move. The move is simply bishop to e6. Now, you must be thinking that this is a huge blunder by black. Black has hung up his queen and white can simply capture it, which, let me tell you, actually happened in the game. White actually proceeded to capture the queen, but let's just let's assume for a moment that what happens if white doesn't capture the queen and plays something like bishop cross e6, capturing the bishop instead. So here black will give a check by playing queen to b5. We have king to g1, and let's say that black plays knight to e2 check. We have king to f1, knight to g3 check, double check in fact by the king and by the queen and the knight. We have knight to g1 once again, and here the kiss of death, guys. Black will give up his queen by playing queen to f1 check. And let's say that white plays rook cross queen, the only move. Now this is smothered mate by playing knight to e2 checkmate. Believe it or not, the king has no escape. The game is over. This is checkmate. So let's return to our original position and see what happened. So guys, let's return to our original position where, as I told you, white actually captured the queen, and Bobby Fischer replies with the windmill attack, which is known as grabbing all the opponent's pieces one by one and checkmating the king finally. So Bobby Fischer plays bishop cross c4 check. We have king to g1, and see how this queen has been jailed inside this small cage. It cannot help the king. So Bobby Fischer plays knight to e2 check, which is again a brilliant move. We have king to f1, and see how the king has been restrained to only these two squares. It will keep moving back and forth between these two squares for the rest of the game. We have knight to d4 check, discovered check by the bishop, and king to g1 once again, knight to e2 check once again. We have king to f1, knight to c3. We have king to g1 once again. The king is dancing between these two squares only, and Bobby Fischer finally grabs the bishop, attacking the queen in the process. And now he protects the queen by playing queen to b4, but to no avail. Bobby Fischer plays rook to a4, and see how all the pieces of Bobby Fischer are coordinated. This bishop is protecting this knight, knight is protecting rook, rook is protecting bishop, and he simply captures the pawn because he has no other option. And guys, from here onwards I will quickly play the moves because Fischer has already prepared a mating net and there is nothing much to analyze about. So game continues with moves like these. We have Bobby Fischer continuously attacking the king, and a few exchanges happen. We have queen check, but to no avail. Bobby Fischer simply protects the king by playing bishop to f8. We have knight captures on e1. I do not even know what that move does. We have bishop to d5 and knight to f3, actually trying to block but simply knight to e4. We have queen to b8 and b5, h4, h5, knight to e5, trying to create some counterplay, but to no avail. King slides down, king to g7, we have king to g1, we have bishop to c5, and the mating net is in its final position, guys. From here onwards, it is just a matter of few moves before the white king gets checkmated. We have king to f1 once again. The king has been restricted. Knight to g3 check, king to e1, bishop to b4 check, king to d1, and you know how this is gonna end. The king has to be smothered, and bishop to b3 check, king to c1, knight to e2 check, king to b1, knight to c3 check, we have king to c1, and finally rook to c2 checkmate. For the entire game, this queen couldn't do much. It is sitting on the back rank trying to do something, but this stupid queen doesn't know how to help the king. And look at the coordination between all of these pieces. All of these are protected, and white king has been checkmated. So guys, tell me in the comments what's your point of view about this brilliant game by Bobby Fischer, considering that he was only just a teenager back then, and he played with such a mastery and such skill that even grandmasters cannot do in modern days. And if you liked the video, I would request you to press that subscribe button, or should I say checkmate that subscribe button, and please share the video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it, and thanks a lot.